Are you sure that you know what our planet looks like? Then, get ready to be surprised. While some go on vacation for beautiful views, somewhere right now the Earth is swallowing automobiles. Waterfalls are turning into fire, clouds look like unidentified flying objects, and things are falling from the sky that are difficult to find an explanation for. In this episode, the freshest and most incredible footage from all over the world, from mesmerizing wonders of nature to cataclysms from which it is better to stay away. On the 27th of February in Taiwan, the Earth opened up and in a matter of seconds swallowed an automobile. It collapsed into an improvised grave and on top established itself like a monument, a tree that fell after it. Fortunately, it was parked and empty. But wow, how accurately this incident was prepared for it. One can call it a successfully committed assassination attempt. The matter's a pipe. That is how we speak about hopelessness. In this given case, literally, the pipe was both a drain and a support for the road. And now these are two separate banks across a dirty river with the absence of a crossing. A part of the steep slope of the coast unexpectedly began to collapse in front of the moving transport. It is a happiness that this did not happen moments later. Now the drivers, who avoided falling onto the rocks in the sea, will have to solve a simpler problem. Due to the impossibility of turning around, a traffic jam arose. A landslide eats the mountain piece by piece, making the authors of the video the last observers of the former landscape. Probably, that is why they are in such a hurry to capture the changes, having forgotten about the risk. On the 19th of February, 2025, a large landslide occurred in Peru. The mountain, it seems, is rapidly melting. But this is not the finale, but the beginning. When after strong downpours a mud flow came down, it caused flooding in populated areas, damaged roads and houses. People moved waist-deep in water and tried to somehow save themselves, and restoration works lasted for months. So you and I are observing only what is figuratively called the tip of the iceberg. These unreal landscapes can be observed in Ethiopia. The Danakil Depression is a famous place for the pilgrimage of lovers of exotic colors. The water in the natural salt pool is so dense that swimming looks like a mockery of gravity. A surreal experience for those who know that here is a completely unusual resort. Many sections are full of toxic fumes, and the temperature here is like on a red-hot frying pan. This sand, it seems, has gotten hungry. Inside, it bubbles some kind of cauldron, which demands that something constantly gets into its furnace. The fault for this is the underground activity of gases. Exactly they, coming out to the surface, create the effect of boiling. A breathtaking salt lake in China sparkles like a faceted gem. Its crystalline formations create cells, and it stores salts for 1 billion years ahead. By the way, the surface here is hard enough to withstand trains and even airplanes. Have you ever seen rain in the form of a single stream, similar to a waterfall? This is not a breakthrough of a heavenly pipe, but exactly such a phenomenon was observed in the African country of Togo. Apparently, West Africa is a land of wonders. We look at how much time it will take for an ordinary but ruptured water pipe to compete with a natural flood. The streets instantly turned into hell. Judging by the fact that steam is not coming off, the water was cold or sewage. But this is all the same better than boiling water, which gushes without stopping. And now let us look at one more breakthrough, which, bypassing the stage of a fountain, rapidly turns into a river. Stormy weather generates magical clouds. They float above us in rippled waves, which seem almost alive. The surreal beauty in the sky nevertheless foreshadows a storm, and it is definitely better to observe it from a shelter. An incredibly powerful sandstorm formed a huge wall of dust, which enveloped the entire landscape, depriving drivers of visibility by 100%. On the other hand, It looked like a catastrophic scene worthy of Hollywood. This phenomenon is called the Eye of the Sahara. Even circles stretch for 25 miles across the desert, and from above look like a gigantic eye. Besides, it seems that it is rotating, a great design of nature, with which nothing and no one can compete. These athletes will never forget such a bicycle race. They rode towards the darkness, illuminated by branching discharges of lightning. I think everyone doubted, is it worth striving to overtake the rest and ride in front of the column? On the 15th of March, 2025, a terrifying manifestation of the power of nature occurred in Tennessee. The lightning strikes were so aggressive that they struck again and again, at trees, roofs, and automobiles. They really could blow everything to shreds. What looks like a disguised alien ship is actually called a lenticular cloud. They really float above us like huge flying saucers, creating an unreal, unearthly spectacle. So, if you see them, do not rush to call the police. A clot in the form of black foam eerily floated across the sky in Indonesia until it decided to descend and land. It was similar to clouds made of shadow. The local residents could only astoundedly observe this strange scene, but none of them could give an explanation of where this nightmare came from and what it consists of. Did you also think that this is how a technical space blanket might look, which protected instruments and astronauts from extreme temperatures, and now has shriveled and is returning to Earth? Gigantic clouds, from which streams pour, are similar to mushrooms. This is not another joke of nature, but microbursts inside them, which form incredible tall shapes. Have you ever seen clouds similar to lumps of cotton? Their colors and shapes simply mesmerize. This beauty is called mammatus clouds, or mammatus, and often foreshadows the approach of severe bad weather. Water and fire, the greatest riddle, how nature can combine the elements side by side as if a layer cake. A waterfall rushes into an abyss where everything is laid out on shelves, a layer of ash, a layer of lava, and this sponge cake will be hot for a long time. After the eruption of a volcano, the surroundings get an insatiable fiery porridge, which devours everything in its path. Whole blocks in Hawaii turn out to be swallowed by lava, since the volcanoes are currently active and eruptions regularly continue. Toxic fumes force residents to evacuate, and nature triumphs, demonstrating its unstoppable power. And this stream under the sunset rays for moments turns into a jet of fire. If you want to admire a red-hot waterfall, take a good observation position in advance and prepare a camera. You need to manage to catch the moment. Murchison Falls in Uganda, a place where nature with joy shows its pristine power. The roaring stream of water terrifies, but at the same time completely mesmerizes. Truly a spectacle worthy of admiration, The main thing is not to forget that the power of this water is capable of breaking walls. One should not approach at a dangerous distance. Since there are splashes everywhere, the bank is slippery, and no matter how many warning posters hang around, people still constantly need to be reminded about caution. Iguazu Falls, one more wonder of the world. Located between Argentina and Brazil, in the season of floods they become a truly breathtaking spectacle, attracting tourists from all over the world. A wild noise stands here, since streams of incredible power fall without stopping. And one can also look at this for hours. The only thing to talk in order to exchange impressions will not work out. You simply will not be heard through this roar. What we see is not a protest of nature against the laws of physics, but strong upward streams of wind, which force the water from the waterfall to soar upwards instead of allowing it to calmly fall. Above the domes of a cathedral in the Russian sky appeared a glowing cross, and people mesmerized admire it from below, having taken it for a divine sign. In reality, this is no magic. Simply the light of church fires reflects from low clouds and perfectly synchronizes into a stunning illusion. If I did not convince you, okay, let it be a miracle. The bright red sky over Australia is not a mind-blowing sunset, but dust from the desert, raised by Cyclone Narelle. It eclipsed all natural colors, the sun and the clouds, having created a frightening apocalyptic landscape. The red color is not so typical for nature, except that some plants and animals are distinguished by a bright coloration, but sometimes it dominates in the landscape in bizarre forms. For example, the landscapes of the Iranian island of Hormuz become completely eerie when it rains. The blood-red soil reveals its secret. Nature generously endowed this earth with the content of iron. The usually calm river in Lima on the 5th of February, 2025, acquired an eerie pink hue. Such a thing sometimes happens during the blooming of algae. But since earlier similar phenomena were not observed, experts point to industrial reasons. A terrible freezing rain with large hail crashed down on Guadalajara in Mexico, having dropped on the ground more than a meter of ice. Such precipitations bury cars in icy snowdrifts and make the streets similar to a frozen wasteland. I will only add that in Mexico, they are not accustomed to such weather. This fantastic picture of the invasion of ice onto the coast reminds one of a tsunami. In principle, that is how it is. An ice tsunami forms when fierce winds drive shards from the middle of a lake to the shore, folding it like a tall glass wave, as if someone broke a crystal vase in the distance and is now sweeping away the shards. Let us visit the ice caves of Iceland, where colossal glaciers form crystal blue tunnels, reminding one of another world. If one tries to pronounce the name of the largest European reserve of clean water, then Vatnajökull translates exactly from Icelandic, the glacier giving water. Honestly speaking, I cannot make out what has fallen from the sky in this settlement, whether it is fish or some unknown, but not very pleasant animals. People froze in bewilderment, and local shamans, without losing time, promote propaganda that they had warned for a long time. The world is rolling towards a catastrophe. And do you see what fell out in the form of precipitation? Write please in the comments. The trees decided to dance. They do not just sway from the wind, but, it seems, want to tear their roots out of the earth and move to a new place. When an iceberg collapses, it releases enormous energy. Upon turning over and submerging, a real rogue wave forms. Exactly, it forces these guys with all their might to accelerate the boat. It is really time for them to save themselves and be faster than it. It is strange that they did not understand this earlier. How do you like such sensations when an ice tornado unwinds behind your back? In principle, the wind does not care what to rotate, sand or snow, but such a dry wind looks spectacular. Have you ever seen how ice walks underfoot? It turns out, is springy and strong as a trampoline, and every step springs, filling you with adrenaline. An absolutely mesmerizing walk. It is good to know at the same time that outside, it is not October and not April. And someone got the most spectacular shot of the descent of a small ice avalanche. It brought the author of the video into indescribable delight. This ice is so transparent that it creates the illusion as if the stones under it are not located in frozen water, but are simply hanging in the air. A similar snow hurricane is called a burin, and it is no safer than an avalanche. It can knock one off one's feet and cover with such a dense layer of snow that it is more realistic to suffocate before freezing. This stunning petrified fossil is often called a golden egg or a nodule. But that very iconic golden shine is not real, but fake. On top, the round piece is covered with a natural polished layer of pyrite, and inside are contained ammonites, petrified mollusks that lived in the Jurassic period, 185 million years ago. Therefore, every such specimen can be considered a ready-made piece of jewelry. The Deccan Traps in the Indian state of Maharashtra represent one of the largest volcanic provinces in the world, and here one can discover gems of fantastic shape and incredible beauty. Unlike typical clusters, this specimen spreads out into a shining fan of needle-like crystals. It is similar to an albino sea urchin or to a petrified sea anemone. I think collectors would fight for it. Have you ever wondered what a sea urchin sees? Look closely at its tiny eyes, and you will be surprised. Its picture of the world, must be, is not a bit worse than ours. The ocean is full of spectacles that you will remember forever, be it swimming underwater with thousands of amber jellyfish, or a walk along the water surface, when you are accompanied by an incalculable flock of dolphins. The main thing is, this will never get boring, because marine life will surprise you every time when you swim away from the shore. What a charm, you will be touched, you. But be careful having seen this handsome one. The tiny but deadly blue velvet sea slug looks in the water like a precious stone, but in essence, this is a walking poisonous weapon, eating jellyfish. Have you ever wondered how corals reproduce? Yes, some species can bud off with twigs, but most often they agree, and on one and the same night, eject into the water material for fertilization and egg cells. I am sure you did not know this. An elegant jellyfish, called a sea butterfly slug, uses its translucent lobes for glowing. A stunning example of adaptation to the marine environment. It looks like a beautiful lamp or an illuminated lotus flower. These charming blue jellyfish swim together like a scattering of large turquoise in warm coastal waters, enchanting everyone who sees them. Have you ever seen a fish with a transparent head and a view of 360 degrees? This is a smallmouth macropinna, a real wonder of deep-sea fauna. Its head, similar to a dome, is filled with liquid, therefore it is transparent, and the eyes are usually directed upwards when the fish is looking for prey, but they can turn forward and sideways. It seems today these guys have a fish day. Probably the prey is standing in a queue in order to bite as soon as the hook touches the water. The main thing is, do not succumb to greed, to observe the measure and calculate the lifting capacity of the vessel. Otherwise, it may decide to release the entire catch at once. Observe how the waves come alive at night. The matter is not in magical or artificial illumination from the outside. This is plankton emitting a natural glow, turning the ocean into a flickering blue spectrum, with which one can so fascinatingly play. A cunning trick. This is a way not to remain hungry when there is no abundance of food. Blackbirds sit with wings spread out like umbrellas in order to create a shadow that attracts fish. A stunning example of mastery and inventiveness, one of a multitude of life hacks in wild nature. Why do birds so love to sit on power transmission lines, tightly pressed to each other? Maybe they have some kind of ritual, so far unknown to scientists, or they want to break them, leaving the district without light? In Texas, thousands of birds fill the sky over a parking lot, merging into a dark, living cloud. The mesmerizing and simultaneously eerie scene speaks not about black magic, but about the fact that in the air, probably, a cloud of larvae appeared, to which these feathered ones flocked. If one summons logic for help, fears retreat. Such a thing you definitely will not see, even in Texas. In Africa, there is plenty of free space. Therefore, in the savannas, form such huge flocks of birds that their number can exceed 1 million. For example, right now this darkness of passerines is just a flock. It is logical to assume that such a quantity makes the little bird under the name of weaver the most numerous wild bird on Earth. At first glance, the gas station looks snow-covered, but actually this blizzard is caused by a huge horde of flying insects. Millions of mayflies return every summer for just 1 or 2 days, in order to live a short but full life and fill all the space with themselves. Do you think this is a tornado? No. Tens of thousands of mosquitoes whirl in the air over Nicaragua, creating a scene from a nightmare. Imagine if someone gets into this vortex and will be in a second plastered by an army of hungry bloodsuckers. Can you imagine for yourself that the sky suddenly filled not with African sparrows, but with bats? Exactly this happened in Queensland and did not add optimism to the picture of the sunset. At first glance, this is similar to a two-headed snake, but actually, there is nothing terrible here. As we understood, worms are very easy to eat one by one, and in order to protect the colony from destruction by birds, the worms and larvae stick together into a heap, continuing the general movement. From above, they look like a larger crawling animal, which not every bird will dare to attack. And also, crawling together turns out faster and merrier. The method is interesting. Do the front ones pull or do the back ones push? And now we have here something truly terrible. This is not a myth, not a computer effect, but a real two-headed snake, which crawls through an Indian reserve. Yes, such jokes in nature happen, but one must remember that it has 2 stingers, and this is not funny. Eerie frames were shot on a street in Thailand. A terrifying ball python for some reason climbed up to a height. Maybe he confused it with a tree, and the dinner had to be digested somewhere? Only it is incomprehensible which services to call, snake catchers or electricians. What if he ate so much that he will decide to stay here for several days? If you think that in nature, one can leave something without attention, then you are mistaken. The moment is missed. Under the tarpaulin, a whole colony of rats has settled. As soon as the light fell on them, they burst outside, like a tidal wave. Now they will urgently have to look for a new shelter, and the farmers to think what to do with the spoiled hay. Let us observe the dinner of a sperm whale. It is strange. After all, he does not hunt birds, but they risk themselves becoming a hot dish, claiming a part of his cold appetizers. The dry wind picks up from the ground everything that it manages to lift into the air. Children immediately dive into it, as if this is a carousel of leaves in an amusement park. They find joy in any situation, and this is wonderful. So what that it is dusty? On the other hand, it is fun. When the Falcon 9 rocket was rising after sunset, its trail caught the last rays of light, turning the sky into a surreal picture. Is it not true? From the Earth, it seems alive? Well, or as if a magical steam locomotive is moving across the firmament. This show is not produced by a rocket. Here is a pair dance. A stunning strip of light appears when fireflies mating flash in unison. So their every wink in the darkness is just a flirt, a search for a suitable partner. What looks like a catastrophically advancing foam tsunami covered Batumi on the 9th of March, 2025. Such a thick fog enveloped the coast of Georgia, surprising local residents. Even old-timers affirmed that they had not seen anything similar before. Let us admire its approach once more. And would you be worried? Somehow I do not hear excitement in the voices of the observers on the balcony. Do you also see a gigantic silhouette on the top? And it seems not only to me alone that this is a giant who is reaching out his hands to the sun. If you distinguished something else, I am intrigued. Then describe in more detail in the comments. Even those who do not have a strongly developed fantasy will not have to think long in order to recognize a red-haired clown in the sky. The sunlight amusingly breaks through a round hole in the clouds, creating a breathtaking illusion. On this major note I report, this is the end of the episode, but not of our compilations. Write in the comments everything that you think on this matter, and subscribe to the Top Facts channel for the compilations of the most incredible facts and videos from all over the internet. Thank you for viewing, and right now watch the previous incredible episodes, which have already appeared on your screen.